Over.
Yeah, so welcome you all, friends. And today we are going to have some stories. These stories are called, stories that linger in your mind. It should be in your mind for a long time. It will also touch personal lives. And you will also feel like, sharing these stories with people. You may perhaps like to reflect on these stories and find out if something has happened in your life. How can you relate to such stories? Almost all of them are real stories with a little bit of fine tuning by the storyteller. Most of the stories are real stories. The first story which I want to share with you is something which happened long, long ago, at the time of the sailing of the Titanic. Real story. I read it somewhere and somebody told it to me. And I owe it to a lot of people. Some of these stories are read, some of these are heard. And I owe it to a lot of people from whom I have heard these stories, and they have told these stories very, very well. So this story is about a farmer who, a middle ordinary class farmer, got a small plot of land that he heard that the Titanic is going to sail from England to New York. It's going to be a sail, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So what he did, he spent all his money, whatever money he had, he spent all his money in buying tickets for himself, his wife, and his 5 sons. These were non-refundable tickets. If you cancelled, money is gone. He bought 7 tickets. He put his life savings into the trip. Okay. So what happened was, and he was very eagerly preparing for that journey. Very eagerly preparing. Just 3 days before the journey, just 3 days before the journey, his 4th son, okay, last but one, the 4th son, was bitten by a dog, a street dog. And naturally, they showed him to the doctor. The doctor said he has to be quarantined. The child has to be in quarantine for 3 weeks. And the journey was 3 days away. His wife said, do something. Leave the 4th son and the 5th son, because he's too young. Leave these 2 sons and me at home. Father and the first 3 sons, you go. Why don't you go and enjoy your trip? He said, no, nothing like that. I will not go at all. If we go, we'll go as a family, or we'll not go at all. That was the decision taken by this farmer. And on the day of the departure of that Titanic from the port of Southampton, the farmer went to the port. He saw everybody boarding the boat and waving, and photographers photographing, people writing down on the newspaper. And he was looking at the whole thing, with tears in his eyes. He said, life savings I have put into this journey, and I'm not able to go. Okay, he was on the verge. He was crying virtually. He was very crying, and then he came back home, very, very sad person. 3 days later, you know what he did? He picked up a garland and ran all around his village looking for the dog to garland. Thanks to the dog bite, his entire family was saved, because he read 3 days later that the Titanic hit an iceberg, and how many people perished when the Titanic sank. So very often in life, opportunities like this happen. Something you're eagerly looking forward to gets cancelled. Very, very, we look forward to. But looking back, they start, you start connecting the dots. When you connect the dots, you find there was a meaning in the whole thing. All you have to do is pick up a notebook and a pen. Write down if in your life something like this happened. This is a story of connecting the dot backwards. Remember something? We can never connect the dots going forward. You can only connect the dots going backwards. Because you can't see today what is going to happen tomorrow or next week or something. But today, can you look back at your life? And can you connect the dots? Okay. So this is a story on connecting the dots. And there's a saying, whatever happens, happens for the good. I don't know. I can't comment on whatever happens for the good. Whatever happens, there is something in it for you and me. If our eyes are open, we can learn a lesson. So this is the story of the farmer, wife, and 5 sons who put their life savings in the Titanic, and the Titanic journey did not happen. And what happened? That's the story. Right? Now, let me take you to another story. I've written down about a number of stories now. Let's share with you some stories. Right. This is again a real life story which happened less than 10 years ago. It happened in a place where I was consulting. And I was teaching them communication skills and things like that. It happened. A young, bright software IT professional, so bright. And you tell him, he'll say, this is where the code is, this is how it is, this is how it is. A brilliant fellow, absolutely brilliant fellow. So one day he came to the HR person to whom I was talking. The HR person was a fairly senior person, very wise man. And we were talking some training programs and things like that. He came to me and he said, sir, I want to talk to you alone. So I was also doing a little bit of counseling. So he said, you can sit with this young gentleman here. He referred to me as a young man 10 years. So you understand how old he must have. So you can talk to this young man also. He will help you. So that young professional, software IT professional, told his personal problems. He said, sir, this is my first job. I said, yeah, fine. Okay, so what? He said, nobody in this office talks to me. When I go to the cafeteria, nobody talks to me. Because I come from a village, possibly near Madurai, so nobody talks to me. Everybody talks in a high phone language. Nobody talks to me, sir. They are all busy gossiping. Nobody notices what you do, but they only notice what is the wrong you are done. They are gossiping, and nothing. Everybody is gossiping, everybody is backbiting. So this project manager talks about that project manager, his assistant talks about this assistant. And so he said, okay, so what do you want to do? He said, sir, I want to leave. So ordinarily, the person would have said, okay, this is the notice period, this is what you do, this is what you do, you leave. But just 3 days before, the HR manager and I, we were discussing something, and I told him a story. I told him a story from Vishnu Purana. I told him the story. He looked at me, smiled, and then he called this fellow. He said, okay, fine, you do. You can leave the office. Give me your notice period is how much? You have to give 3 months notice. And normally, when you leave immediately after probation or something, there are some compensations to be paid to the company, training compensation, things like that. We will look at all that. But before that, I want you to do an exercise. He said, yes, sir, I will do. He said, tomorrow, coffee break, 11 o'clock. There's a very nice cafeteria. Everybody loves the coffee there. Your butter, your coffee. Coffee with milk, coffee without milk, coffee with sugar, coffee without sugar, sugar without sugar, sugar with sugar, milk with milk, milk without milk, boost, everything is available. So this fellow went there and he said, go to that coffee shop, fill up a paper cup, okay, of coffee, hot coffee, hold it in one hand, fill up another cup, maybe hot tea in another hand, walk around the entire office 3 times and come back to the cafeteria. Only one condition. Not a drop from either the tea cup or coffee cup should spill on the floor because they're highly carpeted. Even washrooms were carpeted. So try this exercise. The fellow went, being a brilliant fellow, he was also a sports person. Step by step. So, I had also put them through such games in the training, in the induction program. He was walking and everybody was watching him. One coffee cup, one tea cup, and walked around the office. Full office 3 times. When he came into the cafeteria, put it down. He had his coffee. And then he came to the HR manager's room. He said, sir, done, sir. Then he said, during this period that when you were walking with the coffee cup and tea cup around the office 3 times, tell me, how many people did you note gossiping? How many people did you note not caring for you? How many people skipping work and avoiding work and playing patience and things like that on their laptop, or browsing through the net, or naturally either the net or this device, one of these. How many did you see? He said, sir, where is the time for all that, sir? You gave me an assignment. 1 cup tea, 1 cup coffee. And when I walked around, where is the time to see all this? The HR manager smiled. He said, now, if you concentrate on our work properly, wholeheartedly, do you think you will have time to look at what others are doing? No, this fellow was so thrilled, He said, thank you very much, sir. I'm continuing. He withdrew his resignation and started working. And I asked this HR, hey, where did you get this story from? He said, sir, only last week I heard in one of your storytelling sessions, you talked about how Narada was complaining that Lord is blessing one particular woodcutter. And that fellow took Lord Narayana's name only twice a day. Once in the morning, once in the evening. Whereas Narada was chanting Narayana, Narayana, Narayana whole day. He told Narayana, Lord Narayana, you care for that fellow who takes your name only twice a day. You don't care for me who chants your name throughout the day, and you think that fellow is a greater bhakta. So Narayana took him to his house and showed him how busy that fellow was. But he found the time to chant Narayana twice a day. And he told Narada, take this cup of oil and walk around the cosmos. 3 lokas, Swargaloka, Bhuloka, Patala. 3 worlds you walk, so 3 rounds. You walk and come back and say how much of oil was spilled. He said, where is the time? I was only, how many times did you remember me? Narada said, where is the time to remember you, my Lord? I was only looking at the cup and seeing that was not falling. So look how a very smart HR manager took this story, and having taken this story, he very beautifully spun it into his in his HR counseling narrative. I was so impressed, and that struck me immediately how each story from any of the scriptures, from the epics, from the Purana, are all relevant to you and me on a daily basis. We should know only how to pick up these stories. In due course, we'll have such session. We'll have more sessions like that. So this was the second story which I wanted to share with you. Once again, in your notebook, please write down. What did you learn from this story? And how can you apply it in your real life? And do you find the inspiration to retell this story to someone? If so, who, how, and in what language? You have to make the stories work for you, okay? The only way the stories will touch your life is when you make it work for you, right? Let's go to story number 3. This is another very, very touching story. There was a young lady, about 29. And because of some accident or something, she lost the vision in both her eyes. She lost the vision. She's married for a little over 2 years. She's married her childhood sweetheart. And the fellow was so kind and loving. But from the time she came back home, after she hurt her eyes and lost her vision, came back, She found him a little distant and withdrawn. She feels that she was not as affectionate, as compassionate as before. She didn't know who to talk to us. So she will say, can you help me? He'll say, can you not do it yourself? Try doing it yourself. He used to constantly be a little harsh towards her. Then finally, after about a month of rehabilitation at home, he told her, now it's time to rejoin work. She says, who will give you work? He says, no, you have to learn Braille or whatever, and you have to rejoin work. I can't think of running this household on my own. I've got a mortgage to pay and things like that. And she really had a great fear. She was afraid that at the end of another 1 year, he'll say, find your way and separating, divorcing or something. Then finally, with a little bit of effort, she got a job. The job was about, like she comes out of the house, walks a short distance, there'll be a bus stop there. This happened in London. Okay, she walks to the bus stop, she takes one of those London buses. It travels about 30 or 40 minutes. They say about 5 miles or something like that. A little more than 40 minutes or something like that. And you get down at that place. And from that place, she again walks into the company, works there. Again in the evening, she has to cross the road, take this bus and come back and come home. So, and this was a routine for the whole of 1 full month. And naturally, she used to take the same bus up, same bus down. So the driver and the conductors and all those people got very friendly. The conductor was a very kind lady. They got very friendly and they started talking. They asked what happened. Then how's life? Things like that. She complained. Everything was fine till about I met with my accident, and now my husband doesn't care for me anymore. He doesn't love me anymore. He treats me very harsh. So I'm wondering whether is there some place where I can shift to and live and things like that. And they talked about. Then she asked, "How's your life?" That is what I do at home. I do this. I walk to the bus stand, and I've learned to trust my senses, other senses. I get into the bus. I move to this place. Then I get down and I find my way to the workplace. And after about 2-3 months like that, she started earning about 300 pounds sterling per month. And she says, I'm feeling better. The smile was back in her face. And she said, this is time. I'm happy. She says, can you tell me, this friendly conductor, sympathetic elderly lady, she asked her, can you tell me, who is this fellow who follows you every day on his two-wheeler? He follows the bus, he waits and watches you go. Again in the evening, he is waiting there. He gets you into the bus, he watches you get into the bus. He is waiting at the place where you get off the bus, cross the road. There is this guy on a bike. She says, what bike? How does he look like? Well, about slim, tall, 6 foot tall, blonde hair. And this is the bike, this is the bike. She said, oh God, that's Paul, my husband. The husband was following every day to just help her win her self-confidence. Very often when people suffer or go through a disability in life, the biggest problem that person faces is loss of self-confidence, especially when eyesight is affected, is loss of self-confidence. And the more the people say, like, Ayo Pama, they say in Tamil, Ayo Pama means we feel so. I sympathize with you. I sympathize with you. Sympathy doesn't get you anywhere. Sympathy makes a person feel pity on himself or herself. Empathy gets you places. Empathy gets you places. Personally, I was in Switzerland once. I have a physical disability, walking. I was trying to grow up an incline. It was a very cold day that day. I had 3 layers of, as it is, walking is a problem. Had an inner thing, a vest and a coat. Quite a tough job walking up an incline. And there was a gentleman, a Swiss gentleman, white man, who walked about just about 10 meters behind. The fellow was walking pretty briskly, but when it came to the incline, he was also walking slowly. Once in a while, he used to look at me. After I cleared the incline and reached the flat land and started walking, he tilted his head. He said, "Have a nice day." Walked away. I could sense the empathy that if you have trouble, I am there to hold you. But if you are managing on your own, we are very happy about it. So people with disabilities, as we become older, especially when the limbs start giving trouble, senior citizens, a lot of senior citizens here. Senior citizens, we need empathy. We don't need sympathy. I don't need anybody to hold my hand. I don't need anybody to tell me, "Oh my God, you're so strong, you're struggling." I don't need all that. I just say, leave me alone. Go to a shop. If I can go in a wheelchair and everything is at this level, my shopping is wonderful. If everything is at that level, what shopping do I do? There is no ramp. If there is a ramp, it is so steep that going up the ramp and coming on the ramp, I need 3 people to help. But yeah, people are generally kind. So, do you need help, uncle? Do you need this? Yes. I need to be left alone to mind my own business. Can I not go for a stroll on my own? Can I not go for a walk myself? Can I not just be there, some beautiful garden, sit there all alone without somebody having to push me around and say, "Is this okay? Is that okay? Do I take you there? Do I take you there?" The story of the lady who was visually impaired, 29, made me think. Are we a society which helps people cultivate, which helps people have that, what is called self-respect? Self-respect comes from when I am able to manage things on my own. There are people waiting to help. I'm so happy that there are people around to help. But, it's a great amount of joy when you do things yourself. This you will understand. All fit people, physically, otherwise fit people will understand. Only when you are able to get into the mind of a person who has these kind of problems. This is a story. Again, take out your notebook, write it down. Can you make a difference to somebody's life? Not by sympathy, but by empathy. Can you make a difference? That's a very important. Yes, okay. Let's go to story number 4. This story has a little bit of fun element. Okay. And it tells people, all youngsters, don't mess around with senior citizens. Okay. Don't mess with senior citizens. This is a story. So there was this lady, was about 88 years old. And she came to the bank to withdraw money. She wrote out a check, slowly wrote out a check in the counter. There was a young man in the counter. And when somebody takes his time writing a check, have you seen the counter clerks? How do they behave? So impatient. Slowly, this lady wrote out a check and said, "I want to withdraw $500," and gave him the check. He said, "Ma'am, $500 is not payable across the counter. You have to use the ATM." She says, "I have a problem with my vision. I have a problem with my fingers constantly are shivering. And if I want to type 5, I end up typing 0. And after 3 times, the machine gets locked. And then it tells me a number. I have to see and ask for a number in the beginning, a number in the. So can't you just help me with $500? He said, "No, ma'am, bank's rules." She got so annoyed. She said, "Okay. In which case, I would like to draw all my money out of this bank now." You can't refuse that. As a banker, I've worked in a bank with other bankers. So you can't refuse. He said, "Okay, madam, if that's what you want." Put it in the computer. She had $1.5 million in the bank. She said, I want all my money back today. Now, not today, now, abhi. So this counter clerk said, Madam, you can't withdraw all your money today. Then she said, how much can I withdraw? Okay. And once, okay, is the volume okay, Kantaji? Are you not able to hear? Volume is okay? No, yeah, now it's okay. Okay, fine. So this lady said, okay, I want to withdraw all my money today. Now, he said, Madam, you can't. You have to give me 3 days notice. In every bank, even today in every bank, if you want to withdraw, close your account, the bank can always say, come 3 days later. There's a rule. So he said, you can't withdraw money today. You have to give me 3 clear working days notice. If it is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you can come and draw them. She said, okay, tell me how much can I withdraw today? She looked into the account and said, you can withdraw $100,000. She said, okay, give me $100,000. So that fellow, by the time the queue behind her was increasing and people were getting impatient and things like that. And finally she said, give me $100,000. That fellow carefully counted out and gave her $100,000. From the $100,000, she took 5 $100 bills and put it into her bag and returned $99,500 and said to deposit it back into the account. Remember, it's a teller system, withdrawal and deposit in the same account. She said, deposit back into my account and deposit it now. That fellow, he didn't know this kind of namaskar. If it were in India, they would have done this namaskar. How does it go to that counter? That's the advantage of banking in India. Simply says, don't mess around with senior citizens, okay? Senior citizens know how to handle this. Maybe we are slower. Maybe a little hard of hearing. Okay. Like they said, one fellow permanently acted hard of hearing. So why? This is very convenient. I can hear who is telling what about me and I can change my will accordingly. So don't mess with senior citizens. That's a funny story about this elderly lady. Okay. Again, remember, when I talk about smartness, it's about being alive this moment. You don't have to get drawn into an argument. You don't have to really quarrel with people. A dignified silence, a nice smile. Perhaps you are right, Pa. Maybe a very good answer. Okay. So this is about. Yeah, Kantaji, please rejoin. No problem. Okay. So this is the story of the elderly lady. One more story. There's also a lovely story. Very beautiful. You must listen to this story. People who have heard this story, fine, but if you have not heard it, you must listen to this. They announced that they are going to show a short film, just 10 minutes. Short film. The show was free. You could walk in. The auditorium had only 200 seats, so 200 people were invited. So before there will be khana, after them, and before that snacks and drinks, and after that food. So they said, we will give you all this, and they said a short film will be screened. And a lot of people registered and came. So they joined. Not on time, the screen opened. They saw a blank screen. They thought, okay, titles are coming, something is coming. Okay. It's coming, they're coming. 7 for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, nothing came. People were getting impatient. Then the camera slowly got closer and up and down. They saw it was the ceiling of a house. Slowly, the camera panned and moved to the walls. It showed the four walls. The camera moved and came to a bed in which a man about 31 years was lying down. The director came and said, this man is paralyzed below neck because of a fall from a horse. And for the remainder of his life, the only thing he is going to see is his CD. And you can't stand it for 8 minutes. This is a story of the person who played the role of Superman, Christopher Reeves. He fell off a horseback. He was paralyzed from neck downwards. Just empathy. What you're impatient about. What are you impatient about? That is a huge problem for the other fellow. It could be a huge problem. Only calls empathy, nothing more. Okay? This is the story of a blank wall. Next time, every time you find impatience coming up into your system and you feel like yelling at people, just understand. Perhaps he is, in our Vedic philosophy, we call it you have your own prarabdha karma. Your karma is following. Who knows what karma he is following? Let's not lash up. Okay. Now, this is a story which happened. The next story is about which happened in a school. 3 stories on education. It happened in a school. There was a young boy, 4 or 5 years maybe. 5 years, let's take it 5 years, and the teacher is teaching. Hello, Arnav. You have 2 apples with you. I give you 2 apples. How many apples you will have? 5. She said, Arnav, you have 2 apples. I give you 2 apples. How many will you have? 5, man. Then she remembered this boy's mother had told him that he doesn't like apples. He likes strawberries. So he said, okay, you have 2 strawberries. I give you 2 strawberries. How many will you have? 4, ma'am. Ah, very good. Now, you have 2 apples. I give you 2 apples. How many will you have? 5, ma'am. She got so annoyed. She took the cane and was about to give him 1. Tell me, you have 2. I give you 2. How can it be 5? Ma'am, there is 1 apple already in my bag, ma'am. He counts that, which you and I miss. This is called empathy. This is called a different paradigm. An autistic child was given an exercise. Write in alphabetical order. Pineapple, orange, apple, banana, and a grape. 5. The child wrote it in the same order. The teacher marked a 0. Another teacher said, you haven't really looked. He has followed it. Why? He says, look at the first word. What is the first word? Pineapple. Pineapple he has respelled in alphabetical order. Orange he has respelled in alphabetical order. You set alphabetical order like this. He has respelled every word in its alphabetical order. APPLE, he has written AELPP. Who's right, teacher or the student? Do we need understanding people better? Do we need to put effort to understand people? A lot of people say, I love you a lot, and then make the other person's life miserable. I don't know what kind of love is this. Yeah? One more story. This is again a real life story. A person was taking a class in human anatomy. And he suddenly said, we turned around to the class and said, how many kidneys do we have? There was a fellow sitting in the front row. He said, 4 kidneys. The teacher got so annoyed. He called the boy. He said, order from some straw for the donkey in the class. The young student said, and coffee for me. The professor got so annoyed. He said, get out of my class. He said, okay, no problem. And he walked out of the class. As he was walking out, he turned around and said, sir, you and me together have 4 kidneys. You asked me how many kidneys do we have. So you and me together have 4 kidneys. Please enjoy your straw. I will go have coffee in the canteen. Don't mess around with bright people. So when somebody gives you a deliberate wrong answer, think, is there something he has to tell us? Is there something for us to learn? This is a beautiful instrument, Antakarana. If used properly, it can do wonders. If used improperly, you will say, for you will have to end up eating straw. Okay, strawberries, mangoes, apples. This is a lovely story. You must listen to it. In the Middle East, there is a sea called Dead Sea. It is the largest saltwater lake in the world. There is so much salt there that if I or you were thrown into it, we won't sink. We will float even without trying to swim. We will float. Just a few miles up, there is another lake. In that lake, the water is sweet. And the Dead Sea, there is no vegetation, no fish, nothing at all. Just a few miles up, you have a lake which is resplendent with marine life, sweet water, a lot of greenery around and things like that. Somebody did a research. How does it happen? There is the river Jordan, which comes and flows first into the lake Galilee. It's a high water lake, gently sloping downwards. So the water flows there and flows into Dead Sea. Dead Sea is a flat lake. There is no outlet. All the water collects there and stagnates. It is the one sea from which the daily evaporation level is highest. About 100,000 liters of water get evaporated, leaving behind toxic minerals and salt. What can we learn from these 2 rivers? Our life has a lot of events flowing into our life. People, events, money, facilities, all flow into the life. Like from River Jordan flowing into Galilee, lot of events, lot of joy, lot of pleasure, lot of people flow into our lives. If we are going to receive and also give out, life grows in me resplendent and greenery all around, and my water is sweet. But if, like the river Dead Sea, if I'm only going to receive the water, what's going to remain after evaporation? Salt. And if this is going to be our old age, who will not find you a bitter fellow? People say, kaun baat karega yaar isse? If you bark, I don't have to say beware of dogs. I have to say beware of this bulldog at home. Bitter fellow, biting, always sarcastic. The only thing he can talk about is how when he was young, Coca-Cola was available for 25 paise. Who's interested? I used to get Coca-Cola at 25 paise. Usse kya farak pada? So be like the lake of Galilee. and not like the Lake of Jordan. Many of the stories which I'm sharing with you today, I owe it to a monk, Gaur Gopal Das from ISKCON, wonderful storyteller. I read his books and I'm looking for an opportunity to meet him sometimes. Okay. So there's a wonderful story I heard from. Right. Let me take you a little further. Toxic people, I told you. Yeah, this is another lovely story. It was the 50th wedding anniversary of a couple. They decided to celebrate it in style. Okay, and then they had chosen a particular restaurant, and they said, we'll go to that restaurant there and celebrate our wedding anniversary in that restaurant. The table was booked. They reached there promptly on time. So as they walked in, the restaurant manager, he came and said, sir, your maitra for this evening is Sujoy, young Bengali boy from Bengal. Sujoy. And Sujoy will take care of you, sir. So Sujoy came and he said, first thing, please blindfold yourself. So both the husband and wife were blindfolded. They said, hold your hands and you hold on to my coat tail. Just trust me and keep walking with me. They walked. He took them to the lift and they went up third floor and kept walking. As they were walking, they found they could see nothing at all, tightly blindfolded. Not like the magicians blindfolded. Tightly blindfolded. Finally, they were led to a table. They felt and sat down. He said, take off your blindfold. When they took off the blindfold, nothing was visible. It was a totally dark room. They said, how do we order? They said, don't worry, sir, I will explain it. This fellow explained, you have rice, you have bengun bharta, you have khichdi Bengali style, you have luchi cooked in maida. He explained, this is a lobster, this is cooked in there, this is a crab cooked like this. So please order. They ordered. And the food was served. They said, how do we? He said, you feel around your plate, find out where your roti is, find out where your dal is, dip and eat. They took their time. Normally, what they would have gobbled up in 35 minutes took nearly 2 hours. Then they said, pay the bill. How do you pay the bill? Is it feel around your pocket, took out, is it 10 rupee, 20 rupee? If it is your credit card, put in your credit card. What is the PIN number? Please feel around the keyboard and put in your PIN number. With great difficulty, they did, and they came out and they came to me. They said, oh, yeah, it's a great experience. The manager came and said, I want you to understand, Sujoy and 10 other waiters in this restaurant are visually impaired. So here we gave you an experience. Here we gave you an experience in how the life of a visually impaired person is. And it can give you perhaps excellent service. Understand how payment is. Keying in. What you do it easily. That fellow has to use the same technology. Has to use the same technology. See, in our currency notes, on the side, left side, there are some marks there. They're supposed to be for braille. You're supposed to feel that and find out which currency note it is. Try finding out and tell me which note it is. I am from Reserve Bank. Even I don't know how to find it. And you expect a person who is visually impaired to feel and pay you correctly. And he's served, he's served. Right? This is bangan ka bharta, this is khichdi, this is on your right side, this is on your left side. You have to really feel around. And when you feel around, when one sense is off and when the other senses work, your sense of smell, your sense of taste, your sense of hearing, your sense of feel works wonderfully. The wife said, that was really the only day in my so many years of married life, this was the first time I understood the fragrance of Began ka Bharta. This man said, I didn't know that Sheddo chal is, your parboiled rice. So he said, I didn't understand that Sheddo chal should be cooked so well. This is the free. He said, I didn't understand even that the finger bowl which were used, the water smells differently. And he says, I didn't understand that how with every sip of Chinese tea, fresh hot water is poured, then with every sip, the taste differs. When the tea leaves get fermented, the taste differs. He said, oh my God, what a revelation. This is something for all of us. Once in a while, we all talk about Mauna Vratam. Hey, do something. Do Nayana Vrat. Tie a blindfold around your eyes for 1 hour every day. And try doing your normal work. Just see how your empathy for the other man grows. Try. Before you start your car and these days people wear glasses here and say, where are my glasses? I personally have done it so many times. I say, this is like discovering your Atma. Where are my glasses? Where are my glasses? Then my granddaughter says, on your forehead. Then I say, oh God. So Atma with you, but you are missing. The same way, tie your eyes with black cloth. Try looking for your car keys. Hey, go into the washroom and try to lift your toilet seat. Try looking for your toothbrush, all with your eyes closed. Try. Try one day. Just see how the other senses open out. Close your eyes tight, listen to music. Listen and see how each of those notes makes a difference. Jayalakshmi is a singer, Jamila is a singer. Close your eyes and listen. See how the notes are different. Yeah, fact is it. You take my glass off, even I can't see much. So the doctor says he will do cataract operation and I don't have to use glasses anymore. Try this. Just feel. See, there is, in our Vedic culture, there is something called Manushya Yajna. Manushya Yajna simply means empathy. Feel for the other person. We have all consumed enough. Now let's start contributing. Like the Lake Galilee. And let's feel for the other person. Lovely stories, beautiful stories, which I heard and which made a great difference to my life. Great difference. The only way these stories can make a difference to your life is to write it down. Because you will hear in like Lake Galilee, you will listen and put it into Jordan today evening itself, in Dead Sea today itself. Write it down. Write it down. Read these stories often. If possible, share it with your people who are receptive. Don't go and say, I'm going to tell you stories. Everybody will talk. Just share with people who are receptive. If they are not receptive, pray for them. Let me read a couple of more stories. Mangoes, I told you. Yeah, hey, this story you must listen. This story is about a smart Indian. Why Indians are smarter. And India's smartness has started growing. See, another 2029, you see India. If people who are alive that time, let's see how India is. 2029, we are going to really rule the world. America president will be one who? Batman a ban. Padmanabhan will become Batman a ban. Something like that will happen. As it is, it's there like that. Okay. So this was an Indian and a foreign scientist, a scientist from abroad were traveling the same aircraft. That fellow was talking about how India has not contributed anything to world philosophy, guru. I say, you people have done nothing. That person is not a foreign origin. He's an Indian origin who has gone there, who has settled down there abroad. And the first thing they come back and do is find with India. So these say, hey, useless fellows, you have done nothing. India ka 0, 0, 0 hai. So then he said, okay, let's have a small contest. I said, okay, sir. I will ask you a question. Okay. If you don't know the answer, you will give me 100 rupees. You can ask me a question. If I don't know the answer, I will give you 100 rupees. He said, sir, this deal is not okay. Sir. I am a poor Indian, like you said, Indians, we don't know anything. So you ask me a question. If I don't answer, I'll give you 100 rupees. I'll ask you a question. If you don't answer, you will give me 1,000 rupees. Is that okay? I said, okay. He said, sir, your turn first. So that person asked a very elaborate scientific equation. The Indian, without hesitation, took 100 rupees and said, here is your 100 rupees, sir. I don't know the answer. Then he said, my turn, sir. Yes, ask. He said, tell me what goes up the hill on 4 legs and come back on 3 legs. What goes up a hill on 4 legs and comes back on 3 legs? I thought, and I went into Google, everything. He said, stupid fellow, what kind of a thing is it? He said, okay, sir, thank you very much. He said, what do you mean, thank you very much? You are also not able to answer my question, so pay me. He said, right, you have paid me 1,000. Now here is one more 100 rupees. Fine, happy, leave me alone. And for the rest of 17 hours, this fellow kept quiet. Don't fiddle around with the smart. Okay. Earn 1,000, return 200, 800 rupees. Still, I am better off. This is a smart Indian. Was the other fellow who did not think I was a smart Indian. Very beautiful story. Yeah. I have 5 more minutes with me. What other story I have? Short film I told you. Yeah, this is a story. There was a meeting going on. This is a kind of real life story. And the person suddenly received a message. You have to go to this place tomorrow, in another week's time. Out of the country, travel outside the country in a week's time. And he was in some place which took quite, and then you have to apply for visa in Delhi on such and such a date. So this person says, in which case I have to leave for Delhi today by flight. And he went to the head of that camp and said, I have to leave for Delhi. He said, fine, you'll go for Delhi, but who's going to have to go by flight? But who's going to pay for your flight? Who's going to pay for you? He thought and kept quiet. Lunchtime, he again asked the same question. He said, fine, but who's going to pay for it? The dinner also he asked. That fellow gets so annoyed. He said, I'm busy with the camp there and you are asking me the same question and again and again and again. You see all these young students here and you are an old man, a middle-aged man, a teacher, and you are bothering the same question again and get lost. The teacher felt so insulted. He went back to his room and virtually cried. He said, my teacher who brought me up, who mentored me, who guided me, told me by, Satyam Vada, Priyam Vada, Hitam Vada, he yelled at me in front of all these fellows. Camp got over. Then finally, he came back to the ashram. And again, ashram means it was a camp organized for school boys. And they were all returning. When they were returning, the principal or the senior teacher walked up to this young teacher, took both his hands in his hands, and he said, please forgive me. I shouldn't have been so harsh to you in front of all these students. Both of them held each other's hand and shed tears. The young man said, sir, for 2 full days, I have been thinking ill of you, just because you were harsh to me for one occasion. I forgot that you were the one who mentored me, who taught me how to adjust to the hostel life. I forgot that you taught me this. I forgot you took me up the mountaineering. I forgot how you got me treated when I had a malaria. I forgot how you treated me when I twisted my ankle on that downhill and you supported me. I forgot all that and I only remembered what you yelled at me. And I had all this. Then the elder teacher gave him. He said, see, I have got a very simple formula for you. Forgive and forget. He said, sir, forgetting is very difficult. He said, okay, don't forget, but forgive. Because if you don't forgive, you're keeping the wound alive in your own heart. And when the wound is alive in your heart, it becomes ulcerated. In Hindi, they say, nasur ban jata hai. It becomes ulcerated, septic. This is not very difficult. It's very difficult to forgive. He says, I've got a very simple formula today. So easy in today's times. These days, for opening your account, for opening your email, or opening it, for doing this, for doing that, everything there is a password required. Now, for instance, let's say I and Jamila have a small quarrel. So I start today. I forgive Jamila. I forgive Jamila. That is the password I'm going to use for that. Of course, Jamila and I never fight. That's another thing. So in case Jamila and I fight, I'll put there. I forgive Jamila. I forgive Jamila. Suppose Nandini and I quarrel. I'll write there. I forgive Nandini. I forgive Sri Ram. And you can write there. I forgive. I forgive more. At the end of 10 days, you will find that, you're laughing even as you are typing. And you will call up and say, what's my password? But don't tell, okay? Then you misuse your password. Keep changing it every 10 days. And look at the space it creates here. The space is created in your heart and here. And this inner space is called inner leisure. Inner leisure is that valuable space which actually tells, it is called the disposition, which actually tells you how happy you are. If this inner space is occupied by all this, how can I forgive that person? That fellow did to me, that fellow did to me, that fellow did to me. All preoccupied, like very often your Gmail says your account is full. No further email can come in. You have to clear all those files. Go to those files. There are old pictures stored there. Delete all those old pictures. Go to all those. Hey, this fellow did wrong to me. Delete all that. Delete all those old folders. Like he did to me, he did to me, he did to me. Delete all that. And look at how much space is created. And in that space, you will discover the happy you. The truly happy you. That is me, that is you. And that is what the Vedas come and say, Aham Brahmasmi. I am that happy being, occupied by muck. Our thoughts are, he did this to me, he did this to me. I should have spoken back like that. Delete all that. That deleting is possible. Just put it as a password and keep writing. And see how it disappears. Okay, so lovely, nice stories. Yeah, 6:30. Completed 1 hour of stories. I want you to try and remember these stories. Write them down. And at every opportunity, tell these stories. A story is valuable when it is capable of being retold. Tell these stories. Tell these stories in various languages. Add your own namak mirchi masala. Give it your own flavor. If I say it is my story, you change it and say your story. There is no copyright. Stories, tell stories of love, stories of forgiving. 2 weeks back, we talked about stories of love. Talk about stories of discovery. Talk about stories of empathy, self-discovery. There's no guarantee how long we are going to live. No guarantee at all. The day we are born, there is only one thing certain. That one day we have a known birthday and an unknown going day. Rest of this, graying, growing, going. This is life. And if this graying, going, growing is like Lake Galilee, then there is life around you is resplendent. If it is a Dead Sea, then like the name itself is a dead life. So this is a few stories I want to share with you. Thank you, seniors, today. Thank you, all of you who have been found time to come today and share thoughts. The floor is open.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
The floor is open if anybody wants to share anything.
Yeah.
Mohan, thank you very much. I want to have the password. I forgive Mukundan.
That was a good story. Deleting things. Often we forget to delete.
Yeah.
That happens.
It happens. Saying is easy, Mohan, but practically doing is little.
No, that's why you put it as a password. It will take time, but it will happen.
Yeah.
That's why I said, see, doing it only in the mind is difficult. Put it as a password.
Jamila often forgets to delete from her mobile, and often she asks me, "Arey Baba, it is asking for space. What to do?"
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I'm sure Jamila doesn't have to do this forgiving, and she doesn't have to. She's one of the radiant, smiling person, always smiling. My password will be, I can't forget your smile, Jamila.
Good one.
Yeah, Jamila is a wonderful singer, actress. Oh my God. In fact, the first row is completely from Bangalore. Sri Ram, Mohan, Jamila, and Kantaji. They are all from Bangalore. Kantaji and I are neighbors.
Oh, okay.
I am now in Bangalore.
You are in Bangalore now.
A few months, yeah. And Kumar is my friend of over 30 years, and then we share a lot of things. Wonderful. Nandini is a student I'm mentoring and trying to develop her into a very good storyteller. She's a very good storyteller.
Even the Titanic story, it happens with so many people. Many times people have missed the bus, missed the train, and they the next day the train there was an accident or buses fall into a ditch. It happens.
Yeah. Wonderful. So thank you very much for being with me this afternoon. We'll meet again. Okay. Monday after next, twice a month we'll come. And if you have ideas, on what you want, please message it to either me, Abhishek, Archana, and then we'll share it and have stories done for you. There are interesting story sessions being planned. And there's one story, I'm going to come up with a story shortly. Philosophy from Hindi movie songs.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Suppose you listen to the song, Hey bhai, zara dekh ke chalo. What is the philosophy? Like, our Sri Ramji is going to sing, Chand aur sitaron ki tamanna ki thi. Let's see what philosophy is there. Let's look at the philosophy. Zindagi ka saath nibhata chala. Let's look at the philosophy. So one session on philosophy. And one session, please get all your friends. Register in advance. I'm going to share secrets on how to sing like different singers.
Okay.
How to sing like Mukesh, how to sing like Hemanta Kumar, how to sing like Saigal.
You can do that?
Yeah. I will show you how to sing like Asha Bhosle. Male voice Asha Bhosle.
Great.
Demonstrate, no? It's very easy. There is a bit of practice. ये नजर लौट के फिर आएगी ये नजर लौट के फिर आएगी आया ना
Yeah, sounding like that only.
सैयापन के अनारे मोहिले के जाना. I'll teach you all this one.
Abhishek Begum.
Have a lot of fun. Wonderful books.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mohan. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Nice.
Bye.
Thank you. Very nice. Well done.
Very
Thank
nice.
you, Ravana. Thank you, Ravana.
Thank you.